All right, good morning, everyone. Recording this on a Sunday morning, getting ready for the fantasy season. We 1 week away from our auction free agency draft. It's me, your boy Dane Diddy. I'm with your man Killer. Killer, how
What's
you feel?
good? What's good? I'm feeling good, feeling great, man. We finally got some preseason action underway. Got to
Yeah,
see,
yeah. You
got,
check out
got
any
to
of the
see,
games last night?
yeah, man. I got to see that boy LaMelo Ball. Woo! He was
Two,
throwing some passes last night.
did you watch the game or did because I only saw a couple of highlights from him, but I saw the two passes. I was like,
Yeah, man. He's definitely got some court vision. He's certainly gonna be a problem. You're definitely gonna have your popcorn ready this season.
mhm.
Um, of course, from a fantasy perspective, it's going to be tough to kind of measure, how his archetype kind of does,
Yeah,
because the turnovers are definitely going to be there.
yeah.
His shooting was horrendous. I mean, he looks worse than his brother.
The
Um,
bad shooting is gonna be the shooting is gonna be tough. Um, went over
but I
5
mean,
last night, I think.
hmm?
Went 0 for 5 last night, but first game NBA. Um, I didn't really see the shot selection or anything, so I can't really comment too heavily on that. But
Man, I don't even know if it matters if he's, if a defender's, not even within 10 feet. It's just going to be brick city. And I mean, he struggled with a shot,
yeah,
out international basketball. So, I don't see him fixing that, in a couple of weeks and through a pandemic. Um, but, I've seen crazier things in 2020.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna I'll keep my
yeah,
expectations pretty low.
yeah. I checked out the Knicks. What was it? 2 nights ago, they played Detroit. Killian Hayes came out. Obi Toppin did his thing. Nice energy. Looked smooth out there. He's gonna struggle defensively, but it looks good, man. I like what I saw. I like how hard he played, and last night, my rookie Kevin Okoro, I mean Isaac Okoro. Sorry, I'm like, why am I thinking Kevin? Isaac Okoro came out, dropped 18 points on them boys last night. Um, hit two threes, went 2 for 4 from 3 point line. So I like what I saw. I like the plays he made. He looks energized and ready to go. So that was a good surprise for me.
Oh, it's a rookie. What are you thinking about your boy Mitchell Robinson this year? I know this is going on, his third year with your franchise. What do you?
Yeah, man. I don't want to comment too heavily on Mitch, but I think it's gonna be an interesting battle. They're supposed to play tonight. I expect that he'll start tonight, just to see how he looks out there as a starter and with Noel as the backup. Noel looked good.
Mhm.
Both of them did well in their first preseason game, but Noel was strong, and Mitch he played well. I think he didn't have enough time to get into the feel of the game. I thought, but I think it's going to be a battle for that starting position, and I think he'll show up. Um, some of the
What do
stuff
you?
that we heard preseason, I didn't like, but um, he's got a major upside, and I'm willing to bet on that. If he fails, he fails. I mean, it doesn't come at too big of a cost for me. So
What do you think about the personalities between Coach Tibbs and Mitch? Mitch seems like a pretty volatile person. Given that we hear news that he's going through like his sixth or seventh agent.
he
Um,
just, to me, he just seems immature. That's how he comes off to me. He seems immature. I think he just needs a couple of good mentors around him. He's never really been in a program where he's gotten like exceptional coaching before. This would be the first experience of that. I think he needs some people to kind of toughen him up a little bit and show him some tough love. He's got all the talent in the world. I think he just needs to grow up a little bit. But he's a young guy, so who you can say that about a lot of kids out there.
I hear that. I hear that. I mean, Coach Tibbs is probably the best guy, right? Like he's, certainly of the boot camp type of mindset.
Yeah,
He's
and which they need. They need that in New York. So I'm hoping for the best there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, let's jump right into it. And we've got the keeper deadline. We extended that for a little bit, and we didn't see too much change there. So that's great. So things pretty much stayed more or less the same. We had a couple of one drop, one add, nothing major. Um, how's the field looking for you, man? What are your general thoughts on the field right now? What's available in free agency? Who people kept?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting off season. A lot of teams, kept a lot of players, right? So there certainly seems to be some general concern about um, trying to find new talent or letting people off to the free agency. That could be for a number of reasons, right? Like there's a couple of teams, I've been looking at, such as, you got Cranston Killers, and, he's got, Trey Young, Tatum, Siakam, Ingram,
Hmm.
and D'Angelo Russell, right?
Yeah,
And you're talking about, all of these players underneath $100, right? And, our salary cap is 264. So he's coming in, plus north of, $150 budget,
yeah.
you know, and so he's like primed to add, a potential superstar if, one is available.
So let me ask you this, since we're already kind of jumping into it, but it was, give me your five, sort of most interesting teams coming into this free agency draft. I imagine Cranston is one of them. Cranston Killers is one of them.
Creston Killers is certainly one of them. I mean, similarly, I mean, you've got Bentown Celtics. She's got the most exciting and electric young core as well. With Luca, Devin, Zion, right? And
Yeah,
they're all underneath $75, and she's coming in, with $150 budget.
yeah,
And similar to Crankston Killers, these owners, are known for getting their guys right. And so it's gonna put a lot of pressure, on the other organizations to figure out, creative ways, to navigate the free agency because they're gonna be bringing it. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Um,
so I have those two. I don't
yeah.
know if you, yeah.
No, I definitely have those two in my top five, most interesting, slash dangerous. Like you said, they've got the pieces in place right now where all they need to do is go in and grab whoever they feel is the best player available and go, basically, have a bidding war for them. Um, these teams are good enough that if they get, the top tier talent available in the draft, they could be like instant contenders. They'll be instant contenders. So we'll just need to see how that plays out. There's a lot of money coming into this draft, but only so many, top tier players. So I'm curious to see. This draft is gonna really be about how people build their team and how they feel their needs. So um, I imagine like Bimtown, they're gonna want to add some depth to their front court and add some talent to their wing. Depth is the name of the game for them, but there's not that many roster positions. But you already mentioned two of them. One of mine actually is the Flyers, uh, Frankfurt. Let me see. They're coming in with, I think, like $187.
Yeah, the Flyers are definitely dangerous and more on my list as well.
But
You
here's
know,
the thing with them. They've got two roster positions left. They acquired those picks from the rookie draft, based on the number of players they kept from the original roster, plus the rookies. They're they're already roster full deep. So they've got two positions with $187 left, to spend on just two roster positions. Anyone who thinks they're going to come in and sneak away with some top tier talent for, a little bit of money is kind of got to think again, because they've got money to spend, and I imagine they're ready to blow the bank on adding talent. But the question is, I'm gonna ask you this for the Flyers: would you blow the bank on top tier talent to add to this roster, or I mean, they've got the money to do it, so you got to spend the money. But does
I
that
mean,
get them anywhere?
you don't have to. I mean, the Flyers have gone some years, with some extra capital, after the free agency. Of course, any remaining money is just wasted dollars. Um, but you're right. I mean, they're in a sticky situation. Roster spots, $187 to spend. I think to your point, I mean, I think they're primed to add a superstar, and it's probably the best option. And
Yeah,
if the superstar doesn't work out, you can
yeah,
try to build and get some younger pieces, right? Like,
yeah. Because
yeah.
they've already got the. I mean, what I was thinking is that they've got the team where they could cash in their chips. I mean, look at their, from the draft alone, rookie draft, they picked up Anthony Edwards, Denny Alvia, uh, Patrick Williams, and then they've got, young talent like DeAndre Ayton, De'Aaron Fox, who they traded for. They traded for both of them this offseason, and then Laurie Marketing. So, they got OG, Markel Fultz. We'll see what happens with him, but they've got enough talent that they can, pack it, do some packaging and, do some wheeling and dealing and get some, you know, some like, bigger names in there. Some, someone else has a struggling team and a superstar on their team and not, ready to you know, kind of bail.
Hmm.
They could, they got the pieces to make a move. But I'm curious to see how they, handle their money and how they build this team out and what they actually decide to do with this roster. That's the, John Wall uh, looked good in his first preseason game. Um, See how his body holds up. Um, but he's on a reasonable salary, $24 for John Wall, coming off the Achilles, missed 2 years, all that. It's an interesting team, definitely. I'm looking forward to him. Who else you got on your list?
Probably a surprise here. I got True Grit.
Mhm.
Usually, doesn't surprise me or it doesn't show up as interesting because he's kind of just been a staple in the playoffs, keeping, you know, many of the roster spots or holdovers. But this year, he went a little different. He kept the front court in Memphis, both Val and, Triple J, which is a nice combination. Has a promising rookie in Kobe White, which is, set to start. It's got Coach Donovan there now, so that looks promising. And then, Jaylen Brown, he's shown that, he's here now, he's ready.
Yep.
And, the Celtics are prime, for the continue of his breakout and emergence. And for like one of the first times, I mean, he's coming in with a lot of money. I mean, it's $180, to spend.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what he does because, I mean, typically, You know, he likes to get a lot of these mid-value guys, but you know, that pool is just so small. You know, like I think I think I think he's one of those owners that possibly could have taken advantage during the during the off season to acquire
Oh yeah,
some pieces.
yeah,
But I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, it's probably a little bit easier to see in hindsight.
yeah,
What are some of your thoughts?
yeah. Definitely interesting team. I was like on the fence of whether to put them in my top five most interesting or not, but definitely give them a hard look. They've got Bogdan, as you mentioned, Jaron Jackson Jr. and then Jalen Brown, drafted Neesmith. Um, good pieces, good solid pieces, young pieces. I feel similarly to how I feel about Frankfurt Flyers in that, you know, if he so chooses, and I agree with your point on the offseason, if he was a little bit more active in the off season with trades, it might have, you know, I think some interesting things could have came up because he definitely has some players that people would be really interested in. But um, you know, all things aside, I think again, you know, I'm curious to see who he reaches for in the draft and who he targets in the draft and builds that team. Because, like you said, the pool is a little thin, especially in the mid to, you know, you got some mid tier talent, which are the guys I typically like to go for. Um, but you know, you've got people out there with a lot of money, and so you know, people are going to get overpaid as they do every year. But you know, I'm fascinated to see who gets what, and
It's the story of the NBA, right? Right, like you got these small market teams, and you know they're trying to, you know, get talent, but it's a small pool of players, and so you got the guys like Middleton, like
yeah,
Hayward,
yeah,
oddly enough, which are going to be available in the free agency, and these guys get max deals, man. They get deals because of
yeah,
you know of the small pool of players which are available. So
yeah.
we're
Last
gonna
year,
see we're gonna see a similar thing, right? CP3, even the old guy, CP3
yeah,
LA, they're gonna get big contracts too.
yeah.
Um,
You know, last year Middleton got 114, and I think Kemba was over 100 also. And
mhm.
that's again, that's the type of thing I'd be scared of these owners who are coming in with a lot of money because guys you think you might have been able to get on a reasonable dollar amount, um, probably not going to get those guys. So especially at a price that you really value. So um,
And a lot of this, like, you know, some of these teams with young cores would have a smaller budget if we, you know, if we never considered the change a couple of years ago, right? There was this big debate that rookies prices were inflating too aggressively from their rookie season, right? So, you know, we had originally had um, in the league laws that, you know, a rookie's draft or second year price was defined by the Yahoo auction price, right?
yeah,
But there was some debate that, hey, you know, that's too aggressive of an inflation. You know, it should be, you know, either some fixed price or half of that value. And
yeah.
so,
I
you
think we
know,
went half the
what we
value.
came to was half of that value, right? And so you see a lot of these players where, you know, maybe, you know, not the second year, you know, they really hit, but it's that third year, man. And, you know, you're just getting so much value, you know, because, you know, Yahoo, you know, hasn't adjusted to the appropriate, you know, price, you know, of these players in their
Right,
second year. And,
right.
you know, the you know, and it's just allowing, you know, these middle guys to really make some big money.
Yeah, I mean, like I was upset at how they projected Mitch to be last year. I was like,
Mhm.
man, they projected him to be in the high 20s last year, and it. forced me to, bring his value up to like, the teens, which is not something I was happy about. Because I didn't feel like he he's got promise, but with the minutes and everything like that, and the coaching situation and the fouling and all that, it's just like
Mhm.
he's, not gonna, we just don't know yet. It's just we don't know enough about him yet to give him that kind of a jump in pricing. So like he's right now he's $24. I mean, I think Luca is $27. Booker, well, I'll just stick with the people who drafted around the same time. But come on, man, like he's worth. I feel silly having Mitch at $24 and Tammy's got Luca at $27.
Mhm.
I mean, but it goes both ways. So it could hurt you. It can help you. Just all depends. And his value continues to grow at a higher rate than I'm comfortable with. So um, I won't be mad if he produces at that level, but um, it is what it is. So any other team you had in kind of your top five?
Yeah, the last team I had to round it out was Syracuse Sparrows, and I
Mm.
mean they're just always interesting because they're a team that likes to get in the free agency to grab some superstars, and of course they've got a large budget. They did an offseason trade where they were able to acquire Butler, and Robinson to get both the Miami Beach Bums. And so it's about putting talent around them, right? But this is not like previous free agent markets where there were a couple of superstars. The
Yeah,
amount of players available and the amount of money
yeah,
is going to make it very difficult
yeah,
to build a typical Syracuse Sparrows squad.
yeah. Last year they made a lot of deals. A lot of deals. You know, um, they had a full roster of they had guys like um, Kawhi. They had Kyrie. They had uh, um, why is his name Holiday. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ringers they had on that team, and they made a run towards the playoffs after a slow start. But and PG-13, they had PG-13 on their team too. So they amassed this kind of super team, and then kind of cashed out all those chips. And I I don't like as I look at the keepers now. I'm wondering, like, I don't really see. I feel like they kind of lost some of those players for not a whole lot. I mean, like you mentioned, they came away with. I like the Jimmy Butler deal Syracuse made, and got Obi in the draft, and nice deal on Seth Curry. But I'm wondering if could have gotten a little bit more value for some of those players that he had on the roster. But we'll see. Like you said, the draft is coming. We'll see what he does. A couple of teams I had low, small salary teams, small budget teams coming into the draft. Um, Rucker Park is an interesting one for me. Made a lot of moves during the offseason to try to build around Giannis. Brought in Drew Holiday, Andre Drummond, Lonzo Ball, DeJounte Murray, and then kept Thomas Bryant and Brooks, and then drafted Okongwu. Um, that's an interesting team. Not a lot of money going into the draft, and still has some areas to kind of fill out on the roster. But you know, definitely has some nice pieces, and I'm curious to see whether he'll have the money to address some of those holes. and who they bring in to fill out that roster. But up front, it looks like one of those like brute force teams, man, like ready to play bully ball.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be attacking the paint for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, they're trying to get Giannis to stay. Um,
Yeah, they're trying
and
to
tried
maximize
to,
his
but it,
dollar value right now. I mean,
I mean, it feels like the real life Bucks. I mean, the talent that they're putting around him. I get it. You're trying to build towards his strengths, but in my opinion, sometimes you want to build towards a player weakness so you can get even more spacing for him to be able to attack the paint. And so, yeah, I've got some concerns about the shooting. I've got
definitely concerns about the shooting, and that's one of the gaps I think need to be filled.
I don't even know if I don't even know if the defense is going to be enough. I mean, it really is going to depend on what Thomas Bryant and Brandon Clark do. And when I say defense, I'm talking more from a rim protection. Because I think as far as the Steelers they're solidified, top team for sure.
Yeah, rebounding they should be solid.
Rebounding. That's check mark. Field goal percentage, check mark.
Check mark, definitely.
And assist, assist should be solid. Assist should be solid.
Uh, maybe. Lonzo. I mean, we'll see what Lonzo does, but if you're counting on Lonzo to give you all your, I mean, Holiday's not a big assist guy, and neither is Murray. So,
but Giannis will
oh
jump
yeah,
in and
that's true.
Giannis will jump in and
Giannis does it all. So yeah, he'll give
give
you
you
some out
about
of
five.
position assists, definitely.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's gonna be good in a lot of areas, and like I said, just a few holes that I want to patch up with that $38 coming into the draft. So my other team, King's Landing. The Kings, they basically are running it back. And I talked about in the rookie draft, I talked about a little bit about, I made a comment about how they went from a top 3 team finishing the season before to basically being dead last, and a big part of that was obviously losing Curry for the season. Um, um, didn't lose, but I think what maybe even I don't know, maybe it didn't seem like there was I would have thought there would have been a move for Curry at some point during the season. Nothing really came up. I didn't hear any rumors about Curry moving. And then even at the dollar amount, keeping Curry at 133, I thought was something I wasn't expecting. But it makes sense given the talent in the pool. If you feel like you had the pieces you like coming into last season, um, you know, added LaMelo Ball in the draft. Um, Looking for Cam Reddish to take another step forward. Bam's obviously good, and Bradley Beal. Um, this team is coming in with $28, and I feel like we'll need to address a lot. What are your thoughts on King's Landing?
Yeah, I mean, Kings Landing, I mean, this team is, the center of it, given the prices is like Beal and Bam Adebayo. So I think keeping Curry was to keep Beal and, Bio happy.
Yeah,
Um,
and they could have enough with just those three, especially if Gordon plays well. But
I
um,
don't, I don't, I
I
don't,
think they're
I
one
think
injury
this,
away again.
yeah, I mean, I think this team, I mean, they're a playing team, like and I think they're going to need a lot of luck. Um, I think I mean, just even make the push to get into the playoffs because, I mean, Beal's usage is going to go down with now Westbrook. Bam Adebayo should take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
Curry, I'm wave emotions with Curry. Like Curry has struggled the last 2-3 years. He's kind of following the early trajectory of his career where he struggled with like injuries,
Yeah.
and given the last couple of years have kind of been freak injuries, like you know the player on Detroit landed on his wrist. It's not like the ankle injuries in the beginning,
Right.
but it's not. Yeah, but it's not the health that he showed, through the championship runs, when the Golden States a dynasty were running things. And so, there's certainly some concern of, is he over, the mile, is he at the mileage where things,
Start
are
to
going to start breaking
slow
down.
down a little bit for him.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, who are we kidding? It's Chef
I'm a Curry
Curry.
optimist.
Yeah.
I hope he makes a step back to be who he was. But yeah, that Warriors team, man, I mean, Clay went down and that's one thing, but people, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that Warriors team. I'll just be honest.
That Warriors team is it's done. It's I mean they tried to address some weaknesses by trying to bring in Oubre, but I mean you got Oubre, Wiggins, Curry, and Draymond Green, and then slot in whoever the fifth guy is. Those guys, the combination of Oubre and Wiggins just don't provide what one man Clay does for that team. Curry's gonna have to work harder to get his shots. They're I just don't see them having the same impact on the court and providing the same type of separation that Clay is able to do. Like especially Wiggins, he's just a guy on an island. Like I just don't see how he works on the team side of basketball. And then Draymond Green is another year older. There's a lot of questions as far as where he's at.
Yeah.
On his basketball trajectory. Like, I mean, he could be in Chipotle in a couple of years, slicing up lemons.
Yeah, he's been he's been I've been counting him out for the last 4 years. Fantasy wise. Fantasy wise. I've been counting him out for the last 4 years. I was wrong one of those years, but
I mean, he was the defensive player. He was the back-to-back defensive player of the year.
yeah, but that's in real life. I'm
Years.
talking about fantasy.
Well, fantasy. I mean, he's like 1.7, 1 block, 1.7 steals. Like he gives it for the steals and blocks.
He's a valued contributor, but I think you like him a little bit more than I do.
I agree. I mean, I think Draymond. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not a big punter. Like I go for it on fourth down, and yeah, Draymond Green is just a tough guy to have on your roster because of how much he kills both the percentages.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's pivot a little bit. Looking at the available pool, are there guys out there that's available that you're surprised they're available?
Surprises, yes. I mean, there were a couple of players.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first player was Gordon Hayward. So Gordon Hayward, I didn't quite understand why he didn't get his contract because he was on Cranston and a reasonable contract of $48, and he was paid to be the man in Charlotte. So that was a big surprise for me. The next guy was my team, Phoenix, with Covington at $41. Unfortunately, was in a tough spot where it couldn't make the money work, and he wasn't going to work with the type of build or the direction the organization was going. And couldn't find a place. Surprised that didn't get any calls on him.
Yeah.
And so I see him going, for something ridiculous. in the market. And the last guy is on the Danes. Miles Turner. And I just gotta believe that you've just been disgusted, by his play the last couple of years. I mean, he's still producing those blocks, and
Yeah.
he's still
Yeah.
pretty youthful, but some people just can't understand or can't deal with their center grabbing 6.6 rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That that's
frustrating.
I was, I like Turner. I've had Turner I traded for him 2 or 3 seasons ago. Had him for this would have been the third or fourth season I've had him. Yeah, man. I expected a little bit. I think the addition of Sabonis when that happened, I think it took a little bit away from his development. And the rebounding, like you mentioned, man, the rebounding was something that he and I just weren't seeing eye to eye on, man. Like I just, I wanted more out of him from that standpoint. I love the blocks. I love that he shoots threes. I like him, man. But I just felt like at his dollar, what I was paying, gonna get ready to re-sign him to. It's just I need a little bit more, man. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening right now. So, I had to just let him go, and and look, my door is always open. So, he can if the dollar if the dollar if the dollars are looking good for me and he's out there, might see him back. You never know. So
Mhm.
I'm not closing the door on him. So
No, it's not that. It's just that you've gotten so many good values that you you've recalibrated of what you think these other
yeah.
players. It's like I'm gonna pay Gordon Hayward the max, and this guy is giving me so much more.
Hmm.
But that's the way things shake out, depending on
Yeah.
what the expected. Uh,
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to overpay for certain things. A guy, you mentioned Rocco on your roster, a guy was, Brooke Lopez at 39. I mean, his numbers don't jump out at you, and 39 certainly seems like a high price to pay, but for what he does, I would have maybe rather have him than Turner at that price for some of the stuff he does. Similar numbers, cheaper cost. Um, I don't know. I just I
yeah,
like what
he's
Brooke does.
yeah, he's a tough guy. Like, I mean, if you've got the right cap, like you can make him work, right? But at this point in his career, he's premium blocks and out of position threes. But he's only at the center position too. So if you've got a center, like
Yeah, that
it
was the
kind of
problem
makes
because
things.
I
He
know
had
he
a
was on the
bunch of
market for
issues
you.
last year.
I know he's on the market for you. You and I are both longtime Brook fans.
Mhm.
I was
The
I was interested. Just
all-time leading scorer of the New Jersey Nets. They were the Brooklyn Nets by then. Yeah, Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, one of our favorite guys to watch, especially when he was playing more in the paint. Um, but yeah, I would have loved to have had him. Just my logjam at center just was too much to make a good roster spot for him. Um, yeah, you know,
And right, and so like I look at the right, the free agency, right, and you can go to Yahoo and check the top 25 um, preseason ranked free agents,
Mhm.
and you've only got about 3 first rounders and, you know, the Brow, you know, the King, um, and
Why?
the Boardman, yeah, right. And then after that, it kind of falls off. You know, you got
It's a big drop.
a bunch of just middle tier or old guys, right? And the 25th person, I mean, this kind of paints the picture. The 25th person on that list is Derrick Rose, right? So people are potentially going to be spending, you know, their precious dollars on Derrick Rose. Um,
Hmm.
and you know that trickles down to the teams that didn't really come in here with any money, right? So, you know, I've got like 7 or 8 roster spots to fill, right? And so I'm going to be filling it with, you know,
You're going
basically
to the
the
dollar
rights
store.
to players. There's going to be the rights to players, you know, type of area, and you know, it's going to be a funky draft. You know, you know,
Are you a
it's
Family
really going to
Dollar
test the
guy
both.
or are you a Dollar General guy?
uh, uh,
What do you have out in out there in Mass?
uh, we've got we've got both. Yeah, we've got both technically. The one that's close by is the
I'm a
family.
Dollar
The
Tree
family.
guy.
Idolatry.
Dollar Tree is my spot, especially in the auction. Yeah, one of my guys that I thought was most interesting to see in free agency, again from Cranston, and it might just been because of the number of spots. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you talked about Hayward, but Bertans at $7, I thought, you know, would have been a keeper, but he had a good season last year. I don't know if you just low on him this season or what, but I thought I'm kind of happy to see him out in the free market. A lot of teams who need shooting are gonna probably target him.
He's gonna get paid. He is gonna get paid.
Certainly. Anyone else? You are you surprised at anyone who got kept?
I mean, you know, early on, right? The 3 big guys was Gobert at $80, but you know, snooze, you know, whatever. Um, Curry, you know, at 133, but you know, that ownership's, you know, top player of all time, and so, you know, they're just a
You're just
huge
paying.
fan of
Yeah,
Curry.
it's a legacy pay.
Exactly. And then the last team was Solid State with Harden at $178. But you know, I get it. You know, his team has had success with him, and you know, he's just gonna ride that ship. You know, just because of the value that Harden gives you, you know, in a week. And so it's, you know, almost,
Mhm.
you know, why take that risk even if you're, you know, paying, you know, say $20, you know, overvalue to put him in the free market, right? Because imagine, you know, he puts him in the free market and Frankfurt decides, you know, he wants to go to the strip club. You
Yeah.
know, he's trying to get, you know, some lemon pepper wings. You know, he's gonna be a out of luck. You know, and then you know he's off to Philly or to Brooklyn. You know, and he doesn't get to keep him for the year. So I get it, man. So and
Yeah.
he's got the pieces around him, right? To at least give him a fighting chance with Sabonis, Collins, you know, on the front court, and then the back court, Smart and White. So you know, it's
Yeah,
good enough.
I wonder if a lot of people came in with money thinking Harden was going to be available. I know I thought he was going to be available, but knew I had no realistic chance at him, so didn't matter to me. But I was definitely surprised to see he was kept. And you know, given all the big money that people like you mentioned, Curry at 133 and Harden at his dollar value, I think what was it 150 something?
Who's right?
Uh, Harden? Oh, 178 for Harden.
178. 178.
I'm surprised that now looking in hindsight. I guess I'm surprised um, at Kawhi not being kept at 115 or whatever he was.
It's one of those things where, you got recency bias, right? Like a lot of the bubble play is still fresh in people's mind. The fact that he's resting,
Yeah,
um, plays in people's minds. The fact that we've got a condensed schedule plays in people's minds. And so what they perceive is either they can get a deal on the free market, or two, he's just not worth it, right? But I mean, what Kawhi does, on an average game is like unmatched. He's like, top 5 fantasy player from an average player perspective. He covers every single category for the most part. You're just not going to get that unless you get like Anthony Davis.
yeah. I love having Kawhi on my team. The thing that hurt his value, it's gonna hurt his value this year, and then hurt his value last year. When I drafted him originally last year at like some little over $100. The rest is scary for people. Um, and all the nonsense they've got going on the Clippers. It's a little concerning. But with that said, with the market where the market is right now, give me a projection where you feel like he'll go for in the draft right now.
Leonard, um, 125, 130-ish,
Yeah,
somewhere around there, 125, 130.
yeah, I can see that happening. I can definitely see
And
that.
what are you thinking about LeBron's and
Ooh,
AD's value in the market?
AD, AD is gonna get paid. AD is gonna get paid 150 plus, for sure. And LeBron, I, I I expect he'll be somewhere closer to Kawhi, somewhere in that, right somewhere in between AD and Kawhi, probably, if I had to guess. So I think minimum he'll get is 130. At max, I'll see him getting 150s probably, but just under that 145, let's say 140.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show. Um,
Yeah, man. So we've got the auction again coming up on the 20th at noon, 12 p.m. Um, be nice to get our fellow owners on a massive Zoom virtual call and have a draft party. So we'll have that set up and send a link out sometime before the draft, maybe the night before, maybe the morning of. That people join us and kind of sweat it out with us as we watch what happens during free agency auction draft. Any final thoughts on the upcoming draft or just the rosters in general?
it's going to be an interesting season. I think the teams that have got, a good solid core right now have the advantage. Um, but this is different times, especially with only knowing half the NBA schedule. So,
Yeah,
anything
the
can happen.
schedule is going to
As
be.
always, in the
Yeah,
association, and even more this year.
yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on the schedule, and how our league is set up for weekly lineups? How do you think that might affect, with COVID involved and all that stuff? Like, how it is. You got a guy who maybe plays on Monday, then gets injured in that game. Now you're pretty much out for the week. You're pretty much done for the week. Your matchup is pretty much in flux after that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's anything like football, it's gonna be chaos um, mainly because, you know, if you're like a close contact or if you show, you know, a positive COVID test, even if it's a false positive, you got to show like a couple of days, say 5 days in a row
Yeah.
of negatives before you can, you know, take the floor, be part of the team again. And so, you know, that's certainly going to disrupt, you know, the general flow of players. And it's just going to be chaotic for fantasy manager owners. So, I mean, you're gonna have to turn into like a medical doctor and start predicting, you know, the spread, you know, of diseases, the spread of COVID, and you know, different locker rooms, et cetera. It's going to be a jungle, but I personally predict that by by the All-Star break, you know, the NBA is going to basically make it mandatory for all the players to have vaccines. Like the players are going to get vaccinated.
Yeah, and on the testing side, the one bright spot is that I believe rapid testing is available for NBA players. So um, results, you won't have to wait a couple of days to hear back, or if you do have a false positive, you can always get retested right away and get those results pretty quickly, and we'll know for sure. Hopefully before any games. I mean, for us, the week lineups doesn't matter, but let's say it's a Sunday night, we can make our lineup decisions with more information, hopefully. So there's that. All right. Well, if nothing else, man, we'll close it out. Thank everybody for watching our pre-draft, pre-association, free agent auction draft show. Um, we'll be coming at you again probably next week to do a post, our post reaction to the draft, and we'll break down our winners and losers of free agency. So stay tuned for that. All right,
All
y'all.
right, peace out, y'all.
Have a happy Sunday. Watch some football. Eat some good food. Stay safe.
Word. Peace out.